and have conversations with me. And I will do the best that I can to help you out along the way. I am a parent. I am, have family members near and dear to me as well. My own health, your own health is very important, uh, extremely important to me during this time. So I want you to know that you can always have a conversation with me. A lot of you have already, and I'm very, very appreciative of that. I know sometimes it's hard to have conversations with your immediate supervisor. You feel like you're owning up to some weaknesses, but you're not in this situation. So please, please, please have a conversation with me. Sometimes it just helps to have somebody to listen to and hear you out. So feel like you need to, please reach out to me. Okay. So any questions about how the expectations have changed in the spring versus now? Do we have any questions? All right, if you do, continue typing. I'm continue on. So last week, we talked about face mask and what Governor Cooper was requiring of all schools and all this stuff. And the question came up was, are face shields allowed? So I do want to kind of walk you through a few things to kind of show you. But keep in mind that this right here, this is a question that has come up in many principals meetings, and I'm still waiting on an official word. I know what I'm about to show you today could be classified as official word, but I really kind of want to make sure that here at Pactolus we do what is correct. So this link right here, you have all heard this lovely toolkit here. This has been referenced so many times in the media and everywhere. But if you come down here to the toolkit, there's a section that is devoted 100% to cloth face coverings. Okay. Now, if you come down here to the second bullet, it says, visit this website for more information about face covering guidance. So if I click on this link right here, it takes me to the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Now, if you see here where this is exactly a month old, and as we all know, things are changing and guidance is changing at all times. So this guidance is now over a month old. Now, will it change? Has it changed? I'm not sure. But if you come down here and look at the frequently asked questions, it says, what is a cloth face covering? And then it says, are face shields allowed instead of cloth face coverings? So the answer there is yes. Plastic face shields that wrap around the sides of the wearer's face and extend to below the chin are an allowed substitute for individuals that have difficulties wearing a cloth face covering. Okay, so that is guidance that has been provided by North Carolina. Now, understand this, that this guidance right here highlights a lot of different areas: retail businesses, restaurants, childcare facilities, gyms, transportation, processing plants, facilities. It's not just schools. So that's one thing that you have to keep in mind with this document right here. So that is why I am saying that right now, we are still going to wait on official word from the county. I know that is highlighted in there, but it's something that we need to make sure that we just have direct supervision when it comes to something like that. So just want to provide you an update on that. I promise you I would kind of look into it. It is this question that is still floating about, still trying to find some answers to. On the flip side, though, last week I sent out a survey and a form for you to complete that if you wanted a Pactolus face mask, you could put in your order. I'm proud to say that we have more than 100 face masks being ordered right now. So everybody's price dropped down to $750. So that is a little bit of good news today. So you will have whatever face mask or however many face masks that you requested. There will be $750 each. When you start coming in next week, you may reach out to Miss Strong. Miss Strong is our bookkeeper. If you need to remember or see who that person is, check out our website and you can kind of see what her face looks like, because it will be hidden by a face mask right now. But when you start coming in next week or even the following week, if you would just go ahead and pay the lady as they say. So you can either do it by check, Pactolus, written out to Pactolus School, or of course bring in the money. It is a flat fee of $750 each, so you don't have to worry about tax or anything like that. They are putting those in production now, so I'm hoping that maybe next week we can have them, and you can go ahead and get them and start wearing them. So just a little bit of tidbit of information right there for you. Okay. Childcare. Last week we talked about a possibility of childcare being offered to those individuals or those staff members that have children that are school age. Info, once again, it's our mass email that goes out to everyone in the county. Info sent out something, I believe, earlier this week about childcare. It's a survey. Please make sure that you complete that. I think it's due by tomorrow. So if you would just go ahead and fill that out. For those of you that are looking for your child may be in pre-K. Pre-K is a little bit different. They operate a little bit differently than K through 12. So they are actually having smaller class sizes in pre-K for this upcoming school year so that their students can come every week. They will not have an A week, B week. They will be in school every week. So once you hear from pre-K, you can kind of know a little bit more guidance from that. Okay, so once again, if you would just go ahead and complete that as soon as possible, that will help guide the county on what we need to do within our schools and other schools to help support you. All right, any questions before I get started on our agenda? All right, so this looks like a very long agenda, but I promise you it's not. A lot of these things we're going to breeze right through. It's just kind of some things that I want to touch base with y'all, make sure that you're aware of as well. So hopefully this will not be a long meeting as it looks right now. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the school supply list, I apologize. I did not really want to send the school supply list and expect y'all to do this all virtually. Some of y'all are new to the school. Didn't really want to do that. I wanted to give that opportunity to y'all to be face to face so y'all can talk it out. Unfortunately, with time and all the other things that are going on right now, that's not the case. So if you would, please go ahead and complete this school supply list. If you would, you can go ahead and type right here in your section. Kudos to the grade levels that have already worked on and got theirs in there. Thank you very much for that. You can have a good question came up. Can you have more than 6 items? Yes, perfectly fine. If you would just do me a favor and format it, if you just need to make the font a little bit smaller so that you can get everything on one page. When they put these out in businesses, they want to be able to say, okay, kindergarten has one whole page. So if you would just kind of change the formatting, change the font size so that it will all fit up there. But if you would go ahead and get that out there, what we'll do is publicize that on our school website, Facebook page, and then I will probably do an all call and send out an email to kind of let parents know that supply lists are available. So once again, the sooner you can do that, the better. So if you can get together and get it done today, I would greatly appreciate it. I can kind of send something out to everybody. If not, we can be by tomorrow. Okay. All right. All right, so Ms. Patterson says, are students going to have their own bag supplies like for art? So I think you sent me that question in an email, Ms. Patterson, earlier this week. If you could just refer back to that email that I replied back to. Alrighty, so the second thing here is our addendum to the handbook. So this is actually available on our website as well. So if you come to the student staff handbook, you will see our normal staff handbook, which a lot of it is obsolete right now. So that is why I have worked to create this addendum to the handbook. So when you're looking at this handbook, I'm not going to go through the entire thing right now. We will at a later date. But the purpose of this handbook is to give you guidance on what we're doing here at Pactolus. and to show you kind of what steps were taken in order to make this a safe environment, not only for the students, but for you as staff. Like I said earlier, your safety, your concerns are very, very, very important to me. So this is kind of me showing you what I want to do in order to make sure that this is a safe environment. Now, I know this is 33, 34 pages long. Some of this information I took straight from the toolkit. So these screenshots right here, those are straight from the toolkit because they had to reinvent the wheel. But once you get down here to the other areas, you will see kind of things that have been created. So like I said, please, please, please look at it. This highlighted section is a work in progress, so ignore that piece for right now. But please go through this. We will go through this next week, page by page. I know that doesn't sound very fun, but you need to know because there's a lot of information in here. But I highly suggest you go through and read it first so that you can come to me with questions. I'm always working on this. I'm always adding on to this. I will be working on it over the weekend, adding some things in here. So there's some things that I've thought about, but I haven't put it down in paper up here yet. So if you would just kind of bring those things to the table so that we can discuss them and add them right straight to the addendum so that you can kind of have an idea of a little bit of what this year will look like, okay? So if you would, just take some time to look at that. Any questions as far as the addendum is concerned? Once again, it's just a way for me to show to y'all that trying to put some things in the works to make sure that we are all safe and got our bases covered. All right, so our master schedule. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. So once again, this is linked up here to on our master schedule page. Close out some of these tabs so it does not slow my computer down. All right, so we're going to have a discussion about this. I want us to have an open discussion about this. So I'm going to talk to y'all in groups for a moment. So if I'm not talking to your group at that point in time, then you can easily ignore me for a moment. I will allow that during this time. So the first group I want to talk to is Encore. So Encore teachers, as you notice here, and of course, regular teachers, this would probably be information that you need to listen to a little bit. But Encore teachers, as you notice here, we are starting off the day with our middle school Encore. And then for those of you that are new to Pactolus, what we did for our K-5 Encore for the previous years is that we would double up. So kindergarten, first grade had Encore at the same time, second, third grade had Encore at the same time, and so forth. But with social distancing and all those things, didn't feel like that was the best thing for us to do. So every grade level has their own dedicated Encore time that is 30 minutes. Now there is a 4-minute time in between each transition, each class. Would like to have had a little bit more, but had to get y'all a lunch in there, and if I had added any more, then we would be going to probably about 2:15. So anyway, I know that's 4 minutes is not a lot transition from one class to another, but that is kind of the best that we can kind of work with when you're talking about 9 different grade levels. So to keep in mind, K through 5, you will have Encore in your classrooms. It is guidance and recommended that all Encore classrooms all the Encores participate in their classrooms. Then 6 through 8, there hasn't been a lot of clarity, but they have discussed about those going to the actual Encore classrooms. Right now, I can see the pros and cons to both. Haven't officially made a decision on what I want to do quite yet with middle school Encore. I'm trying to take in consider safety, and then of course what would help and benefit y'all at the same time. So just trying to put those things in there together. So as you can see here, Encore, you would end at 119. Kind of need y'all to help out with dismissal. So we'll talk a little bit about that as time goes along next week. But you can see here, this is how your time would work. Now, when I created this master schedule, I'm trying to find ways that I can give something back to each group of people in this building. K4, 5-8, Encore. I've tried to find some way to make your life a little less stressful, because without a doubt, it will be more stressful than normal. So as you can see here, Encore teachers, for middle school, all of you will have a class for 6th, 7th, 8th grade. So Encore teachers, without a doubt, you will have a class every day. Now let me back up just a moment here to kind of give you an idea. As you see here for middle school, we typically have 2 encores a day for middle school, and for this upcoming year, you can see it's only 1. So what we're going to have is the first marking period would be Encore 1, second marking period would be Encore 2. Then we'll have a new semester, and then we'll have marking period 3 will be their first encore for the spring, and then marking period 4 will be their second encore for the spring, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know. But you would still have 2 encore in a semester. We would just split them up marking period by marking period, okay? So since middle school, y'all would have encores every day. What I try to do is provide you an opportunity to have some breaks, because you're not only going to be teaching kids face-to-face, but you will also be providing some support to students that are virtual. And all those, and rotating back on and off, on and off, on and off. So what I have done here for you is I have tried to make your elementary load a little bit less for you, so that you can still accommodate the middle school classrooms that are taking place virtual, and also the elementary classrooms that are taking place virtual as well. So what I want you to take a look down here is, if you look straight down for the month, or for Monday, you will see that there will only be, and I'll get a little bit more into this in a minute, but there will only really be 1 classroom of 4th grade, 1 classroom of 2nd grade, 1 classroom of 3rd grade here at a time. There will be only about 1 of those based off of our student numbers. So for the day of Monday PE, you will notice that for elementary encore, you will have 1, 2, 3. Since there's 2 of y'all can definitely split those up. In fact, you're going to have to split those up. We can't have both of y'all in the same classroom with the elementary encores. So you can kind of split that up. As you can see, Monday art, you would only have 4th grade. Media computer, which would be led by Miss Sparks or Miss Raphael, would be one day on Monday. 3rd grade, 1 day on music. Music is for 3rd grade Monday, if I can spit it out. And that's kind of goes for the case the whole way down. As you can see here, there's I've tried to lessen your load, because you've got a lot that you're going to have to deal with as far as middle school face-to-face, middle school at home, and providing for elementary encore face-to-face and at home as well. Now, we have not received any guidance as far as how do we do the elementary encores. Do they have their own classrooms? Do they do what we did in the spring, where we just give choice boards and options to them via the classroom teacher? That has not been provided for us right now on what we should do. If it's not provided for us, then we will make a decision in-house, and it will probably be very similar to what we did in the spring, for those that are wondering. Okay, so did I get my numbers wrong there? I did. Yes, thank you, Ms. Brinkley. I need to go back and change that just a little bit. You're right. All right, any other questions? All right, so that would be for encore. All right, so let me go to 5th through 8th grade here. So my 5th through 8th grade people. As you can see here, yours is, I have to set yours pretty much in stone so that you can switch classrooms and do all those great things. So I've put in there teacher transitions. Of course, when you have a block of students, they're going to stay in the classroom, and the middle school and the fifth grade teachers will actually transition. You'll go from one classroom to another. So I provided you 5 minutes in order for it to get that to, in order for you to move your stuff from one classroom to another. Um, Hopefully this will be enough time. This will also provide a break for the students. As we all know, they're going to be in the classrooms for the most part of the day. So this will kind of give them a chance to, of course, if I can spell teacher, to kind of stretch their legs a little bit, give them a little brain break. But this will also allow you the opportunity to kind of transition from one classroom to another as well. At the end of the day, there is SEL, social emotional learning and intervention time. There's a good amount of time at the end of the day. So that will kind of allow you, you would keep your block 3 for the social emotional learning and intervention time. We can get a little bit more into what that block will look like. But that will be kind of like a catch-all, trying to catch all those the rest of the days and whatever happened throughout the rest of the day and what you need to kind of do. Okay. Now, I put this down here for you so you can see your 6-8 instructional requirements. For each one of y'all, each block, we have to have at least 60 to 75 minutes. I believe I was able to get 70 minutes for y'all. So 70 minutes for each one of your blocks. So reading, math, science, and social studies. Now, fifth grade, yours is a little bit different. I'll go over that in just a moment. But I want you to understand, so when you're trying to create a master schedule for a K-8 school in a normal setting, a normal environment, it's a little bit tricky. Like I said, 9 grade levels, 9 different lunches, 9 different encores, start, stop times. That's just tricky within itself. Now trying to create a master schedule for 9 different grade levels during COVID-19 has even put a more of a stress. So as you can see here, these are just some factors that drive the creation of this master schedule. Now, I understand that this is, for some people, this may not be what you like. This may not be what you want. 100% understand that. I was that teacher that I wanted my schedule to look a certain way every year. I tried to take that in consideration as I do every year when creating this. But as you can see here, this is just a short list of all the things that I had to take into consideration when creating the master schedule for everyone. So of course, shortened student hours, 9 grade levels plus pre-K, making sure that we have 6 feet, number of students, temp checks, breakfast, lunch limitations, geographic location of classrooms, block schedule, certified staff, classified staff availability, encore options. We have AIG, CTE split by semester, number of instructional hours needed for all subjects, SEL requirements, arrival, dismissal, and the number of students to opt for in-person instruction. So that's just a few things that kind of go into creating this entire master schedule, which is not perfect by no means, but hopefully it is something that we can kind of see some benefit with. Okay. 5th through 8th grade teachers, questions? Yes, so Ms. Laser asked, for teachers that are transitioning from class to class, will we be given some kind of cart to carry materials on? Yes. So we have, I found out at the end of this past school year, we have lots of carts in the media center. So we are going to, I'm going to talk with Ms. Raphael and Ms. Sparks, and we're going to have to allow those to be given out to 5th through 8th grade teachers and encore teachers, since y'all are going to be a little bit mobile. That is something that we will definitely get y'all so that you can have something to put your stuff on that can be yours, and it's not a mad dash trying to get things everywhere. Mr. Tripp said, are we going to be giving time to get all the stuff ready on our new classroom computer smart board on the new classrooms? So that's where this 5-minute transition, and that's where when you're talking with your grade level, that's where y'all are all going to have to be on the same page. Of course, we can't leave a classroom unattended and just walk out to the next classroom. So that will be something that y'all will have to, every grade level will have to be very in tune with one another and know that, hey, let's go, let's transition, let's get it going. because unfortunately, when one person is holding up, it's holding up everyone else. So that's why I tried to fix in that 5-minute transition in there, so that you could have some time to kind of get some things up. Of course, if I walk in, Mr. Tripp, at 9:55 of 6th grade and you're still setting up your computer, I'm not going to say a thing. I understand how things are going on. If you're still setting up at 10 o'clock and you're feverishly trying to get it all together and I walk in, believe me, I'm not going to say anything. I think you'll be fine with that. Any other questions as far as middle school? Transporting calculators. That's a good question, Mr. Tripp. What we are looking, of course, every kid will have a Chromebook in 6th grade or in, well, 3rd through 8th grade. So I would imagine for the most part, you will be using the computers as calculators. I know that may not be what most math teachers want to hear, but as math teachers remember, Miss Maloney has that great website, that online calculator that our state was looking at one point in time to go to when going to EOGs. So that will probably what we will need to be looking at, just because calculators will be one more thing that will be required for you to clean every day after use, and disinfect after use, and then transporting, and of course the touching. Math teachers having to touch the calculators and all those good things, that just increases the transmission of the virus. Great questions. Any other ones? All right. So, hold on just a moment. Ms. Brinkley said I might need help with transitions. Yes, and with Ms. Brinkley, you being down there on the end, that is kind of a concern. I will explain something to middle school and actually 5th through 8th grade in a little bit once we start looking at numbers that may help out with that. And it may be a little caveat that maybe middle school teachers may be able to get from it. Okay. I do have a thought about that. All right. So K4. So K4, my K4 teachers. So here's the thing. In previous years, what I've always done with kindergarten through 4th grade, since you are self-contained, I always say, hey, here is your encore time. Here's your recess time. Here's your lunch time. You have the freedom to decide when you want to teach reading, when you want to teach math, when you want to do your intervention time, science, social studies, if you integrate that or not. So that is still going to be the case this year. So kindergarten through 4th grade teachers, hear me when I say this. I've got a schedule up here for you that I've tried to give you a starting place. I am 100% okay if you say, hey, Mr. Matkins, I'd rather do this instead. Now, it has to be a grade level decision. So if kindergarten says, hey, I'd rather start off with math at the beginning of the day than reading, I can understand that. Everybody's a little bit different. I do want us to kind of keep to the reading at the beginning of the day. But if you'd like to look at changing up your math and your science and social studies blocks, as you can see here, down here at the bottom, I have provided little notes that says, hey, you could exchange science and social studies and math. So 1st grade, I've got you doing math at this time and then science and social studies this time. You could easily interchange those, since the time requirements down here for K5 are very similar for math and science and social studies. You can change those. Since you are self-contained, you're not having to worry too much about switching classrooms or anything like that. If you would like to change it up, or you can by all means do so. Okay. Have a conversation with me before those. Say, hey, this is what I want to do. What are your thoughts? I can be more than glad to look at it with you. This right here is a starting place. I want to give you the option and the freedom that if you want to change it up a little bit, I'm by no means going to paint you into a corner that says you have to do it this way. This is a starting point. We have to follow these instructional requirements. So that's something to keep in mind. Your encore and lunch will have to stay the same. But if you don't want if you're looking at 2nd grade right here, If you want to do math beginning where you do kind of a whole group activity, have a break, and then come back and do something small group related or independent, that's fine. Just have those conversations with me. I can definitely walk through with you, make sure that we follow the requirements and go through that. Okay, so I'm giving K4 the autonomy to decide if you want to do if you would like to change yours up a little bit, or you may say, "Hey, I like this schedule. It's fine. We want to keep it." That's fine too. If you do decide to change it, it just needs to be a grade level decision. Okay. Now, one thing that we will talk about with any grade level that has it, we haven't had a chance to really sit down and discuss it as a leadership team, but kind of what the brain break expectations are, and also breaking down your minutes for reading. So, of course, you have a good 90-minute chunk of time for reading in all your classrooms, but we want to be able to give you a little bit more structure on how many minutes will be used for this, how many minutes will be used for that, so that you're not. It's very easy to get lost with reading and forget about the time, especially when we used to have 120 minutes and now we've got 90. Okay. So K4 teachers, do you have any questions? While you're typing, if you do, or if you are typing, I put down here, of course, you have the lunch schedule. It's the same thing that you have on your end. Have a PLC schedule. I'm not sure when we'll be able to get to PLCs, but we'll get to PLCs as soon as we can. As you can see, it will all take place from 2 to 3, depending on your corresponding day. Of course, K5 recess. I have put some times here. Please make note of this little disclaimer down here. Recess may take place outside or in the classroom, but students must refrain from playing on the playground equipment. Students may play in open areas while socially distancing. We'll give you a little bit more guidance as far as what you can do once recess is taking place, but that's just something to consider. All right, so Ms. Garcia said, I know the dismissal for pre-K may be a little different than K-12, but what time will arrival be for the pre-K students and staff? That's a great question, Ms. Garcia. That will be given to you by Ms. Lakeram. Ms. Lakeram will kind of oversees all of the pre-K classrooms throughout the county. So I believe she said yesterday that she hopes to get that information out to families and staff next week. So just be on the lookout for that. I know that y'all kind of take in a little bit after or right at our arrival time, and then y'all will definitely be getting out a little bit sooner than everyone else. Miss Pilgrim asked if lunch was going to be delivered. So and when I originally created this schedule, it was told to us that kindergarten and first grade would have their lunches delivered to them as well. Since then, we have begged, borrowed, and whatever you want to say with the child nutrition department. So I realized that being a kindergartner, first grader, second grader, all the way up to eighth grader, being in the classroom all day long is not ideal. And there's going to need to be some breaks, even with a shortened day. But 5.5 hours being in the same classroom, looking at the same four walls, the same people, it's going to be a little bit difficult for a lot of us and adults too. So what we are going to allow people to classrooms to do is for lunch, you are allowed to walk down to the cafeteria to get your lunch, and then you will walk back up. We will have all the cafeteria tables kind of set up like a maze so that we will make sure that there's only one way in, one way out when it comes to lunch. But I did want to give y'all the opportunity for y'all to kind of stretch your legs, for the students to stretch their legs and just kind of get out of the classroom for a little bit. Ms. Hopkins says, are we still allowed to go outside on days we have PE? So for those of you that didn't know, what the requirement here at PAC told us was that if you have PE, you didn't have recess that day because you had the 30 minutes already with PE. Let me think about that, Ms. Hopkins. I'll let y'all know a definite. My heart says one thing, my head says another thing. Um, my head is telling me safety. My heart tells me another thing, that they're students, and they need some things. One thing's for sure though is, and I cannot stress this to you enough, that the recess will be structured. It will not. We will not be allowing them to just kind of go out and run around. If you go out for recess, there will be a need for you to plan something. If it's just standing around all in a big circle, we got plenty of field space, and they're just jumping in space, doing jumping jacks, running back here, there, everywhere. Um, there will definitely be some structure to recess. So Ms. Garcia, you see now that yes, delivered, and that's a pre-K decision. And bless their little pre-K hearts. It's enough for them to walk with their lunch from the line to the table without spilling it everywhere. So yes, breakfast and lunch will be delivered to the classrooms for pre-K. All right, so this is just lunch. We'll talk about breakfast a little bit later on. If you would like to have an idea of what breakfast will look like, you can definitely go ahead and visit the addendum and see how that is being addressed in that. But I don't want to continue and make it redundant, so I'll hold off on breakfast right now, okay? All right, so that is kind of our schedule. Any questions that you may have as far as our master schedule is concerned? Is it perfect? By no means no. But there's a lot of factors, a lot of variables to take into place when creating this master schedule. Try to find something to benefit everyone. If you haven't heard what your benefit is yet, you will in just a moment. All right, continuing right along. All right, so teacher assignment. So unfortunately, I'm not going to tell you who's doing what right now, but I will go over some things with you that I want to be able to share and explain to everyone, okay? All right, so this is just a reminder that, for curriculum instruction, we're looking at an A day, B day. So A week, kids are in school. B week, they're at home at the same time, and then they swap vice versa. Okay, so that's just a reminder. We've kind of already been over this. So this is one thing that I want to kind of show you where we are right now. So the wonderful ladies up front, they have been working tremendously on getting our numbers and finalizing our numbers. I was able to share with you last week that we're sitting right at 50-50 as a school of who wants to be face-to-face, who wants to be virtual. Since then, we are kind of ticking upwards in the virtual category, as you can see, where we are having more students that want to do virtual. And I think a lot of that has to deal with the rising cases in the state. Last night, multiple restaurants in our area reported cases. So there's just a general fear of what's to come. So one of the things that the office staff has worked very, very hard on is assigning students learning zones. And we've tried to do our best as creating it as balanced as possible, but also keeping into consideration that geographically where students are located, trying to save money on, trying to not spend much money on gas for buses. One thing that we'll also have to consider on is siblings in high school. We feed into 3 different high schools: Conley, J.H. Rose, and North Pitt. And without a doubt, some families are going to want their families to be on the same zone. Some of them may not. It just depends. So you're looking at the numbers as of yesterday, and these numbers are going to change. So I know a lot of y'all are itching to get your rosters, who's in my class. Let me go ahead and set my my classroom up. Let me get my names on everything. I'm going to ask for your patience with that this year. This will be something that I will be looking at and working on and trying to create rosters now until the day we start school. So I'm just asking for your patience. I know as teachers, you need these rosters so you can start planning, but you may have to be very generic with some of your things that you do this year. And I'm just asking for your forgiveness with that because this is very, very difficult. To give you an idea, just to come up with these numbers that you have in front of you, the ladies up front have been working a solid 5 days. And this is one thing that the public is not really seeing. And this is something that I want you to be aware of, that coming up with these numbers are not easy. Getting families to fill out the registration form was not easy. This was a process. And like I said, these numbers are changing. When I filled out this form, or I completed this chart yesterday, I had 3 different grade levels that I had to go back and change within an hour. So families are allowed to change their decision going right up. These numbers are actually probably obsolete because we've had some families call this morning. So just keep that in mind. But you can see here, most of our families are looking for this virtual option. And we've got these learning zones that are relatively small. If you please take note down here to the virtual classroom caps. So K2 is 30, 3-5, 35, 6-8 is 40 to 45. So keep those numbers in mind. I'm going to try to go on to the next slide and try to explain something to you, okay? All right, so this learning zones, this is just an example here that I'm not going to go over with you, but it just is more for the public to kind of see the difference between learning zone A and B, okay? All right, so this is where I'm going to spend some time, and hopefully I can explain this the best I can, and if you don't quite understand it, please by all means ask, okay? All right, so what some of y'all, if you remember last week, I talked to y'all about, especially K4 teachers, about a possibility of there being one teacher that is 100% virtual, and then 2 teachers that do the face-to-face. One does zone A, one does zone B. So this is a graphic that I created to kind of help explain that a little bit better for you. So let's take, for example, these are our kindergarten teachers. So you have Miss Apple, you have Miss Ruler, and you have Miss Chalk. Since each one of our grade levels has 3 teachers in them, what makes sense on paper is to say, hey, let's have one of our teachers do all the students that want to do 100% virtual. Apologize for my scribbling, but let's do that. This teacher can focus 100% on her virtual students. Then we can have one teacher that focuses on cohort A or zone A. So one week she would have her students face-to-face. The next week, that entire class would be home virtually, and then the following week they would come back, and it would just continue on, okay? So if we look at our numbers, let's say kindergarten, so zone A, we have right now 10 students. So Miss Apple would have 10 students face-to-face one week. The next week, those same 10 students would be home, and she would provide them support at home. And then the next week, they would be right back with her face-to-face, okay? Miss Ruler over here for zone B, we have around 7 kids. So that first week, they would be virtual. Then the next week, they would come back face-to-face to her. And the following week, they would go back to virtual. Well, over here, Miss Chalk would have 26 students. 26 students nonstop in kindergarten, but they would all be 100% virtual. Now, even though staff and students would, all staff and teachers would still be required to work every day, report to work every day, even if you're virtual. So this was the original desire of mine, because the reason I wanted to do this is because this teacher right here would only have to focus on 10 students. Face-to-face and virtual. This teacher right here would only have to worry about 7 students face-to-face and virtual. And the going back and forth, that just gets very confusing. It's a lot. And then this teacher over here would focus in on 100% virtual. Okay. So this was my original desire of what to do with K4. Okay. Now, let me erase my drawings. So let's go back to our numbers here, okay? Now, if you remember, or if you remember down here, or you see down here, K2 has a cap of 30 students. So we are 4 away from here. 3-5 has 35. Third grade is already above that. Now, 6th to 8, I'll talk to y'all a little bit more. This is more about K4, but actually 5th through 8th grade, you're actually sitting a little bit more pretty right now than the other ones. But as you can see here, there's the cap for K2 is 30. Well, 2nd grade is already 2 away from that. So one of the things that we are allowing in our county is for students to switch from face-to-face to virtual at any time. Now, they cannot switch from virtual to face-to-face anytime. It has to be after the semester. So once again, as a county, we are allowing Zone A and Zone B students, face-to-face students, to switch to virtual at any time. Okay, that's a safety reason. Now, looking at 2nd grade here, it just takes 3 students to say between now and then, hey, I don't want to be face-to-face, I want to be virtual. And all of a sudden, this classroom would be capped at 30, and then I'm going to have to give these 2 teachers at least one of these teachers will have a virtual student. Okay. One of my biggest concerns is setting up a student with a teacher at the beginning of the school year, and a week in, 2 months in, a semester in, I have to switch their teacher. We all know that trying to switch or moving teachers, especially during what we're dealing with right now as a pandemic, is not ideal. So this original desire to do this K4 teacher assignment where we had somebody 100% virtual, then have a face-to-face to face-to-face, was not ideal because who knows what could happen. A lot of our families, all the families that called yesterday, all switched to virtual. So we're starting to see more of our families swing into that virtual. When we already have numbers at this over here, 3rd grade, I couldn't even do that with y'all because you're already sitting above the cap of 35. So you will hear some schools say, hey, I'm 100% virtual. You will hear some say, hey, I'm 100% face-to-face and I don't have any virtual students. They may be able to pull that off, but keep in mind that I'm trying to stay 5 steps ahead of what could happen. And this is all a guessing game. Governor Cooper could come out next week and say we're all virtual. But I do not want us to switch teachers mid-year, mid-marking period, 2 weeks into school. Okay. Does that make sense about the original desire of, I had shared this with y'all last week. This is something that I wanted to do, but having time to reflect on it, I'm afraid that this is going to be more detrimental to our students once we start getting to that 100% virtual cap. Now, don't worry though, because we've thought of something else though. So, but does this make sense to everybody as far as K4 is concerned? So let me tell you what we have decided on another option, okay? All right, so once again, we have our kindergarten teachers, Miss Apple, Miss Ruler, and Miss Chalk up here, okay? So once again, 10, 6, what was this, 26, 28, I can't even remember. We're just gonna go with 28, okay? My handwriting is horrible. I apologize. All right, so this can kind of be a lot to look at. So if you want to, just listen to me first. Don't try to read all this, but just listen to me. Okay. So like I said, the cap of this classroom is 30. So what we would do is we would take probably these 28 and mark it down to 20. So that would leave 8 students that are 100% virtual. What we would do is we would give 4 to Miss Apple, 4 to Miss Ruler. So you would have 10 face-to-face, 4 that are virtual, 6 that are face-to-face, 4 that are virtual. Okay, so the majority of your students are still face-to-face, but you would have a smaller number. We would keep your number smaller because if by some miracle the coronavirus goes off and we don't have to worry about this come January, all these 20 students have to come back into the school, and I can't have 28 in a kindergarten classroom. So they're going to have to switch to other teachers anyway. So anyway, so like I said, 10 face-to-face, 4 here, 6 here, 4 here. So here's what we would do to kind of help this, because as a teacher trying to teach face-to-face and do things virtual 100% of the time is a lot. I 100% understand it and get it. And I do not fault you at all for being overwhelmed with that. I would be. But what we would do is we would still have Miss Chalk over here providing the virtual lessons to your 4 students in Miss Ruler's class and to your 4 students in Miss Apple's class. So Miss Chalk would be providing virtual lessons for the 20 over here that she has, the 4 that you have, and the 4 that Miss Apple has. And she would be providing that. So she would be making all the stuff. Therefore, you can just upload it to your Canvas, Seesaw, whatever it may be. So therefore, you're not trying to do the 100% face-to-face and the virtual ones at the same time. Now, you're still going to have to do virtual because these 10 are going to be here face-to-face and then they're going to be home. But at least you've got an extra week that you won't have kids in face-to-face with you. But this Miss Chalk over here would be providing this collaboration with you. That teacher would still be providing the lessons, the pacing, all those good things to Miss Ruler, Miss Apple virtually. So therefore, you're not overwhelmed trying to teach 6 kids face to face and also deal with the 4 that are home at the same time, 100%. So the weeks would flip flop like normal. These students would be on your roster, but Miss Chalk would be providing most of the assignments. You would just be something that you would have to go in and check, see how they're doing, communicate with them, and all those good things. Does that make sense? So this is designed for K4 teachers. It's trying to help you out. We recognize that trying to do face-to-face and virtual at the same time is too much. It's a lot. So we're trying to divvy up the responsibilities, but also not put ourselves in a corner where once these kids start coming back to school or either they go virtual, we have to switch teachers. Switching teachers mid-year is detrimental to a student, especially during a time like we're dealing with right now. So you may have 14 students on your roster, but only 10 of them may be face-to-face. The other 4 are 100% virtual, where Ms. Chalk would be providing that lessons and the support that way. K4 teachers, tell me what you are thinking besides you want to reach through this computer right now. All right, I'm going to take your silence either as, let me ask, okay, hold on. I got some comments here. All right, so Miss Whitley, will cohort A virtually and collaboration with 100% virtual cohort are doing the same thing? Great question, Miss Whitley. So let me annotate once again. All right, so once again, you have 10 students that are face-to-face, and then you would have, let's say, just 4 that are virtual. So these 4 would be doing all the same things that Miss Chalk's doing with her classroom. These 10 that you have face-to-face, you would be doing things, of course, with them face-to-face. On the week that they are virtual, though, you would be providing them the virtual stuff. Because more than likely, these 4 students are going to be on the same pacing. We all should be on the same pacing. Let me correct myself. We should all be on the same pacing or similar pacing. But these 4 are going to be will be more aligned to what Miss Chalk is doing in her classroom. These 10 will be more aligned to what you're doing in your classroom. So you would still have virtual lessons that you would create. But the great thing is you will be doing those while those 10 are at home, and you will not have kids in your classroom. You won't have kids in your classroom, so you can focus on coming to school that day and getting them that virtual. You can record lessons, send those things out, all that good stuff. Does that help, Ms. Whitley? All right, so Ms. Davis, yes, you may unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, my hands are full. I can't type.
Oh, you're fine.
So my question is, if I am Miss Apple or I'm teaching cohort A,
Yes.
could you kind of talk about what the Zoom responsibilities will be like? Will we be doing live Zooms, and how could I like coordinate that with Miss Chalk if she's doing live Zoom for the virtual students?
Yes. So if you're Miss Apple and you have 10 students that are face-to-face, you won't have to worry about Zooming any of the 4 that are 100%. Well, you won't have to worry so much about the 4 that are virtual. Okay. You would worry about Zooming them the week that that cohort A, Learning Zone A, is at home. So there will be requirements. The county is promoting synchronous and asynchronous learning. Synchronous means that you would be live. Asynchronous meaning that you would record and they would view it at their own times. We all know that the kids have families that kind of come and go, that they may be able to help them with their work at home at a later time in the day. So you would do a kind of a blended. To be honest with you, for the most part, elementary is going to probably have more asynchronous learning. Where you record lessons, you record how to do things, and you upload them. So those will be the options. Ms. Chalk will still, provide the videos for her classrooms. You can still use those videos in order to upload them to your 100% virtual students. Does that make sense, Ms. Davis?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Peaks, did that answer what Ms. Davis asked? Was that the same question? Did that answer it? Okay, great. So Ms. Hopkins said, I think is a good way to look ahead. Thank you for putting the work in. Yep. Ms. Whitley said, so basically 100% virtual will see 2 teachers. So here's the thing, that they will be on your roster, Ms. Whitley. The ones that you have, if you're a face-to-face teacher, they will be on your roster. You will still provide them, you will still collaborate with them, you will still talk with them. But I always say, don't reinvent the wheel. Just like some of us uploaded Khan Academy videos, you will be uploading videos that Ms. Chalk will be doing to kind of help out with students as well. You will be filling in the gaps, talking with them, helping them out that way too. This is a way that we're trying to alleviate the stress and the workload. K4 teachers, you're going to have it. It's a lot on y'all. You have the 4 subjects that you have to teach and deal with at the same time. And I just don't want I don't want to set us up for a predicament a month from now or a semester from now that we're having to reassign students to different classrooms. I don't think that's sustainable. As David said, will we do the grading for those? Yes, you will still have the grading that we'll do for those. Right now, DPI has not given us any guidance on what grading will look like, which is kind of scary since we are 2 weeks away from school opening, but we will hold tight and see kind of what the guidance is for grading. Great questions. Any other ones as far as K4? Please feel free to ask them now. This is an awesome platform for us to be able to talk and collaborate with everyone. All right, so moving on along. So I've identified Encore. Encore, I've tried to find a way to help you out as far as your schedule is concerned with the elementary. K4, I have identified a way to try to help you out, trying to find a way to lessen the workload on you. So now I am left with 5-8. So 5th through 8th grade. Let's go back to this slide right here. All right, so 5th through 8th grade, you're a little bit easier. So 5th through 8th grade, we're looking at these students right here. All right, and gosh, this is horrible. Apologize. So 5th through 8th grade. So as you can see here, your numbers for virtual are a little bit higher. Not so worried about these numbers being higher because I can split these numbers amongst all three of y'all. Now, here's the downfall to middle school and fifth grade. Since y'all are departmentalized, you're going to have to do a little bit of both. You're going to have to do the 100% virtual and the face-to-face since we are departmentalized. But don't worry, I've tried to find a way to help you out as well because I realize that that's a lot on everyone. So let's take a look at fifth grade first, okay? So fifth grade, Learning Zone A, you have 12 kids, okay? There are 3 teachers, and even though I'm talking about fifth grade, this can be the same for all of y'all. So fifth grade has 3 teachers. You have 12 students 1 week. What I would like to do is that in one classroom you would have 6 students. In another classroom there would be 6 students. In another classroom, there will be 0 students. So essentially, if I am Miss Laser that's teaching math, she may have a block 1 that has 6 kids. She may have a block 2 that has 6 kids. And then she has an extra planning period that has 0 kids. And this is when the time you will work on your virtual items. So even with the highest number of 17 here, we would have to be very strategic. Fifth grade, you have some interesting classrooms, Ms. Simpson and Ms. Laser. So we would have to make sure that we place the students in classrooms. Since they're not leaving the classrooms, we would have to make sure that we place them in classrooms that are large enough. Sixth grade, Ms. Mayo, Mr. Tripp, you have similar situations as well. Ms. Stewart has a good sized classroom, so we would probably front load or make her classroom a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger. And then probably put the rest of the students in Mr. Tripp's classroom. Y'all would rotate. You would get an extra planning. This 20 students would be the biggest one to kind of split up. Like I said, though, these numbers are slowly getting smaller while these numbers are getting bigger over here. So you would have an additional planning period that you could have. 7th grade, you're pretty good, 7 and 7. We're looking around at all of our classrooms. We're fitting about 10 on each classroom. I had an expert come out yesterday. He walked through the building with me to make sure that 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet. 3rd grade, y'all are going to give me anxiety and heartburn with your classrooms, but we were going to make it work. It's not y'all's fault. Miss Mayo's classroom, Mr. Tripp's classroom, same thing there. 8th grade, same thing here. Miss Witherspoon, you got a very large classroom. Miss Brinkley, talked about you earlier. Miss Driver has a good sized classroom, so we could essentially split these 2 classrooms up into Miss Driver and Miss Witherspoon's classroom, so we wouldn't have to worry so much, Miss Brinkley, about students going around the corner to those students as well. All right, so questions? Ms. Pilgrim says, what happens if we are ill? Will subs have access to virtual? I'm going to be 100% transparent with you, Ms. Pilgrim. That is a question that has been asked, I believe, every week for the past month and a half, 2 months, and have yet to have an answer on that one in all transparency. But very good question, without a doubt. All right, the only other thing I'm going to highlight here, if middle school, if you don't have any other questions, if you look here, 2nd grade, this number right here in Learning Zone B is rather large. It's not what I feel comfortable with putting into a classroom, a face-to-face classroom. So my hope is either this number gets smaller. If not, this is where we may have to be a little bit flexible. So care teachers, I haven't had a chance to speak with you about this, but this is where we may have to use our staff that are in the building in order to kind of make these numbers a little bit small. 2nd grade, for some reason, they love 2nd grade and they want to be here. 10 I could do. 14 I don't feel comfortable about putting 14 in the classroom and letting that be your responsibility. So there's a good possibility that we would possibly make this number a little bit smaller by putting them in another classroom with certified teachers, of course. All right, so what questions might you have?
Already a switch. We got 2 second graders that went from virtual to coming to school online.
All right, as I said before, the numbers are always changing, and Miss Morning brought in here to me 4 new students that have just switched again. So hopefully you can see how these numbers are ever changing. So that's why we can't give you 100% rosters right now. Unfortunately, we got 2 more kids added to 2nd grade, 1 added to 6th grade that wants to be virtual, and then 1 in 6th grade that wants to be virtual. So anyway, so any questions about the responsibility of how I'm going to get these rosters changed and into uploaded so that you have a working schedule coming up? Does anybody have any questions? Will the 100% online and off week kids be doing the same thing? In theory, Mr. Tripp, that would sound like that could happen, but let's be honest, when you get kids in here and they already have missed a few months from last spring, you're going to pump the brakes probably on your pacing sometimes. Not too much, of course, but you're probably going to pump the brakes. So it's very plausible, very realistic that you're going to get off pacing a little bit. And it may be the same case with your virtual students, that you start going along and you're noticing that you just need to pump the brakes for a little bit. So on paper, it sounds like you should, but in reality, I don't see that happening. I would say definitely try to keep them as much as on pace as possible, though. Mr. Driver said, what about check-ins? Are you referring to the assessments or temperature check-ins? Yes, assessment. So I should have a recording of this. Right now, we do not have guidance on that. 100% transparency right now, too. From the state, we were, if you remember last year in the county, we got away from check-ins and we did DCAs. This year, the county said that we were going to go back to check-ins just so that we could, and it makes perfect sense, so that we could start seeing how we measured up to other counties. Since we had been out for instruction, we wanted to kind of see how our instruction and how our students were aligning up with what other students in the state were doing. So we were going to go back to check-ins. Obviously, the question comes in, how do you check-ins with students that are 100% at home? Very good question. We have BOG for 3rd grade coming up in the first month of school. Don't really know kind of where we are at with that. Ms. Brinkley said the off-week kids are doing what we are doing in class, more or less, right? They are all kind of the same schedule. I see the virtual 100% is in a different group. I mean, we are responsible for them. That was a lot of questions, Ms. Brinkley. So let me see. Let me make sure I answer them all. All right. So the off-week kids are doing what we are doing in class. Yes. So this, I kind of glossed over this. Let me go back right quick. That's not the way. Oh, this one right here. So I glossed over this real quick. This is a good example. I won't read it to y'all now, but you can kind of read it. But if they're face-to-face one week and they're home the next week, you're continuing. You're still trying to support and continue on with what you were learning that previous week. They're all kind of saying, I see the virtual 100% is a different group. I mean, we are responsible for them. Miss Brinkley, would you like to unmute?
Thank you. I'm asking that, like, what I just said there. We're all on the same standard, but I would see if I could keep that in school group that's rotating, what might be a little bit different than that group that's just virtual, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what Mr. Tripp was asking too. Do you keep them exactly the same? And I think once you have kids face to face and you have some virtually, you're gonna fork in the road a little bit. The direction from the county is, of course, stay on pacing guide. Stay on the pacing guide. So I would try your best to stay on the pacing guide. But of course, we know, kids are kids and they're all different and they're all learning different. This is different times. So try to stay on pacing as much as possible. So that for the most part, everybody can be on the same area. So Ms. Pilgrimson, how do we assess face-to-face students? Will we have plexiglass or should we DIY a divider? So that's a great question. The assessments, personally, this is just me personally, I just don't see how we're doing assessments. I know that the state hasn't said anything yet, and I am just one person, and my feelings and thoughts do not mean a hill of beans, but I just don't know how we're going to assess students, especially when social emotional learning is such a big focus for us this year. We just want kids in the classroom and learning and supporting them that way. So will we have plexiglass or should we have a DIY divider? So what is being recommended, all of the classrooms, even middle school for the most part, not everyone, but most of them have kidney tables. You will see that on social media, there are some people that are doing the plastic dividers on the tables and stuff like that. If you read real close to the fine print to what the toolkit says, is the plexiglass dividers are great, but you still have to remain the 6 feet. So even if you're around the kidney table, unless you're on one end and the other end is a kid on both ends, that may be the 6 feet, but you have the teacher in the middle that is definitely compromising the 6 feet, and your safety is just as important. So we're probably going to have to hold off on having the kidney tables being used. Does not mean you can't go to a student and help them. Keep in mind, we've got relatively low numbers, except for second grade right now. So with the relatively low numbers, we should be able to provide more about one-on-one attention face-to-face while they are here. But by all means, if that's something that you want to look at investing, that's completely up to y'all. I don't want you to have to spend money on things that shouldn't really be provided for you, but I understand at the same time. Will students be bringing their Chromebooks to and from school? Yes. All right, so any other questions as far as teacher assignments are concerned? What are your feelings on collaborative assignments? I'm guessing you mean the face-to-face students. So yeah, as far as the face-to-face students, Mr. Ivor, I know you do a lot in your classroom. I know a lot of middle school do a lot of collaborative assignments, which are great, and you do them a lot on Google, the Google platform. I don't see a problem with that at all, but of course they would have to still maintain their 6 feet distance. And we know middle schoolers, they love to touch everything. All righty, so I'm going to continue on. All right, so the next piece that we have up here, the instructional coaches are going to unmute themselves. They got a few things that they're going to go over with y'all. I know we've gone over a lot already, and you're probably already spent, and you've got a million questions going through your mind right now already. Promise you, I will address them the best I can. But the next pieces that the instructional coaches are going to go over are very, very important. So if you would kind of put all distractions aside, because what they're going to give you now is something for you to start working on now. Time is of the essence, and you need to make sure that you're kind of up to date with what is required from you as a teacher. So they're going to go over some things. So I just ask that you kind of put all distractions aside and just kind of listen to and hear what they've got to say. Okay. All righty. ICs, are y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm going to take my video on for just 1 second so that I can just tell y'all how absolutely hard Mr. Matkins and the office staff have been working. We've been in as coaches a couple times, but they have really worked so hard, and I can't tell you how awesome they've been. So just wanted to say that real quick, and then we'll share our information. So the first thing that we have is the Canvas links to self-enroll in our Canvas courses. These are the courses that are created over the summer by the district specialists, as well as some lead teachers within the district. The majority of these links are the same as they've been in previous years. So for those of you who are returning to Pactolus or returning to Pitt County, if you're just transferring in to Pactolus from another school within the district, you should already be enrolled in the majority of these courses. The only course that the link has changed is the K-5 ELA course. All of the links, like I said, are going to remain the same other than that course. When you go to enroll, you are only to enroll in the courses that are based on your grade level and your content area. So if you are a kindergarten teacher, you're going to enroll in the K-5 ELA, the K-5 math, and the K-5 science course. Again, if you're already enrolled, the only one you would have to enroll in is the K-5 ELA course. If I am a 8th grade ELA teacher, Ms. Brinkley, then I'm only going to need to enroll in the 6-8 ELA course. Having said all of that, when you go to these courses have been updated. So your information has been updated, your pacing guides may have been updated. We've had a lot of additional resources. There will be some resources that will be based solely on virtual learning, as well as just instruction for in the classroom as well. As Ms. Brinkley just pointed out, it popped up automatically. Yeah, if you go to your Canvas course, if you were already in these Canvas courses last year, you don't have to do a thing. You can start, you can go in and start, looking through it, checking out the new information. And then of course, reach out to us with any questions you have as you do start. Those of you who do not have PowerSchool at this time, I believe there are a few of you that we're still working on. Some of you are going to hopefully get PowerSchool access by the end of the week. Some of you, it might not be until next week. That's our new staff that is just coming in. Please reach out to us and we will see what we can do to get you this information if you would like it ahead of time. Ms. Dubus or Ms. Brody, is there any additional information we need to say with these?
We're going to go into more detail after we get to the work days, but it's just good to go ahead and preview everything kind of independently on your own.
And we will be sending this out to you in an email, so you don't need to try and write it down right now or copy it down right now.
Yeah, and you do, like, as always, this is linked up to our staff website. It's in the running Zoom list, so you can always access these slides at a later date. But we, like Ms. Stanley said, I'll send a follow-up email everybody once we're finished with this, and I'll have these links in there for you so that you can easily access them. Okay, next slide.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so part of the indicator 2 of the Pitt County school's remote learning plan requires that all teachers are trained on the use of remote instruction resources. So the Canvas course that you guys are going to have to complete is part of that Indicator 2 requirement. This summer, instructional coaches went through the courses. We completed them so we can help facilitate the learning for you guys. And after going through the courses, we realized that it does take some time to complete that. So we wanted to give you the opportunity to go ahead and get started before the designated work days. You can see that there are 3 different focus areas within the course. The first one that's called Remote Learning One-on-One, that is going to be required for all teachers. So that is the first course that you'll have to complete. It kind of goes over pedagogy with remote learning. You'll be required to watch videos, complete graphic organizers, and participate in discussion boards. After you complete that portion of the course, then you will only take the one that is associated with the grade level that you teach. So 3rd through 8th grade teachers in Encore will have to complete the Canvas. K2 teachers in Encore will complete the Seesaw. And the course, once you enroll, it gives you a lot more information associated with those.
And I'll jump in just for a moment because I think these ladies are scared to say it. This right here, this is big. Okay, this is not something that's going to be done in a day. This is not going to be something that can be done in probably 2 or 3 days. This is why we're giving it to you now. We'll highlight kind of what next week will look like, and there will be some opportunity for you to get this done. But do not wait into the very last minute to do these things. I know some of y'all may have to, or will have to work with you just because of Canvas and PowerSchool and all those good things and not having access to that. But this is something that the ICs have been working on for the past, a couple weeks now. And it's not a process that can be done correctly. So as soon as you get the email with these self-enrollment links, I would go ahead and try to get started as soon as possible. There is some time built into next week that I'm going to show you in just a moment that you can access and use that time to complete these things as well. But as you can see down here, the self-paced modules must be completed by August the 14th. Okay.
I'm going to jump in here and say, don't shoot the messenger. We had to do these courses as well. We have tried to take some of the things out that were more of the fluff or the things that we could take out, I guess I would say. We have also are well aware of you having questions. So please reach out if you do have those questions as you're getting started. Those of you who are new to PCS or to Pitt County and don't have availability to Canvas, to PowerSchool, we've also given you some directions so that you can get started with the remote learning part. We've got some directions here. Mr. Madkins, if you want to click that link. Well, just kidding. You can go ahead though and get started on this video portion, and it will take you to a Ditch the Textbook course. And once you go through those directions, you'll be able to get a start on this. Again, as Mr. Madkins said, it is completed by August 14th. That is not a date we came up with. That is the district's requirement. So again, don't shoot the messenger, and we'll go ahead and get you started and answer any questions you may have as you're working through it.
Okay, and that's just this document right here was the one that's linked right here for the directions.
Yes, and that'll just show those of you who don't have Canvas access yet, how you can at least get a start on it without having the Canvas access, so you don't, get behind or feel rushed there at the end.
Okay, any questions? All right, if you do, continue typing. All right, so I'm going to show you, normally in a normal school year, I have all the next 2 weeks lined out for everyone, and I send that to you at the beginning of August so everybody kind of knows. But to be honest with you, things are changing so often that I can't do that this year. So I've kind of provide you next week's agenda. I've kind of got a sketch of what I want us to do the following week, but I figured it's best just to send out 1 week at a time since I know what's going on 1 week at a time right now. So don't worry about copying or taking a picture of this right now. This will be sent out to you. You'll have access to this in the slides as well later on. So don't worry about trying to copy this down too much. So on Monday, this upcoming Monday, at 9:30, we're inviting all those that are new to Pactolus as an orientation. What we will be doing at that time is kind of going over some basic things. Pactolus handbook, the original handbook, office-related procedures. We'll get your picture for your badge if you need one, all those type of things. We'll kind of give you a layout of the school since we did not have a chance to have a lot of face-to-face interviews with y'all. We kind of want to be able to show you the school, show you where everything's located. We want that intimate setting with you so that you can ask questions and not be in front of a whole group of people. So that is at 9:30. Of course, if you cannot attend it, that's fine. All of these weeks up here are not designated dates. I'm just offering you these opportunities so that you can go ahead and get started on some things. At 1 o'clock, all employees orientation. So I'm inviting all of y'all. We'll be in the cafeteria, socially distanced, of course. During that time, we'll go more in depth with the addendum. We'll talk more about safety, and we'll talk a little bit about open house and try to answer some questions that you may have. Like I said, both of these, if you cannot attend, I know some of us are still finishing up vacations. I do not judge you one bit. By all means, take every bit that you can. If you cannot participate face-to-face with these, we will be doing it via Zoom as well. So if you want to listen in, it will be recorded if you want to see it at a later time too. Some of these things might be, just beneficial to see face-to-face or hear face-to-face. Tuesday, the building is going to be open from 8 to 3 p.m. And I've got it changed here. Because I had gone back and forth on what times I wanted. I'm going to change this down here to 3 because I want our custodians to be able to get in and get out and get things cleaned while their time allows. So the building will be open. There's nothing really scheduled for this day. This might be a good day to work on your modules. If you want to come out here to school, you can kind of be away from spouse, children, other distractions. If you just want to come out here to school and kind of work on some things, that would be a good day to do this. This day right here will probably be full of some stuff, so you may not be able to work on it too much. Wednesday, BTs, we have 3 BT1s that will be completing their orientation at another school. If you don't know where those locations are, reach out to me again. They have kind of identified those and I can tell you, but they do have those identified. Once again, the building will be open. The instructional coaches will be able to support you through your modules if you have any questions via email or face-to-face as well. Thursday, same thing here. First year teachers will meet with Ms. Hefner. Ms. Hefner is our lead mentor. So she will meet with everybody in the cafeteria at 9:30 Thursday morning. And she'll kind of go through some things. And then once again, Friday, you have BT orientation at another school. And then building's open for you to kind of get here. I hope my goal is to give you as much stuff on this Monday so that you can get in your classrooms and start getting some stuff done if you want to. Thursday is a BT orientation as well, but it's here at school. It's part of the BT orientation, but you'll just be here at school. So Miss Peaks said, would you recommend us setting up tables in the classroom during those days or wait for further instruction on how to set up so there's social distancing? Great question, Ms. Peaks. So the custodians had started earlier this week on trying to space things out 6 feet apart. Of course, we got down to the 3rd grade classrooms and we can get all of about 6 kids in there, which poses a huge liability and huge problem. So we asked an expert to come in yesterday. He walked through the building with us. He gave us some suggestions. So the custodians are working on today. What we are, and once again, please don't hurt me when I say this, but we are emptying some of your classrooms right now, not of your personal things, not of your bookcases, not of things like that, but extra desks and tables. We are having to put those in storage right now because even if we put all your desk and chairs off to the side, we're losing out on a lot of space. So we'll have a skeleton of what your class desk will look like. Like I said, you won't have all the desks in there that you've had before, but we'll kind of have a skeleton, and I will be able to give you a little bit more direction on Monday after I see what the custodians are able to do today, as far as what you can kind of do within your classroom. One thing to be very aware of is that I know we all like to decorate our classrooms, but for those that are switching classrooms, just be mindful that you're using shared spaces. You definitely want to make it inviting because kids haven't been here for a while and they need to see an inviting environment. But also you have to be mindful of what virus can kind of live on. So unfortunately, the beanbag chairs, the curtains, all those pom-pom things, stuff like that, those will unfortunately will not be allowed. By all means, find other ways to make your classroom inviting. So Ms. Davis said, and to follow up, will we have to have our classrooms checked to make sure that they are properly socially distanced? So we will do all the socially distancing for all of you all. That's something that I don't want you to have to worry about. To be quite honest, every bit of your classroom is going to be set up with a desk somewhere. So what you will have to keep in mind is how you can be creative with your personal space. We will allow you to do what you need to with your personal space, keeping in mind 6 feet apart. But we will be setting up the tables and desks for you. Yes, so Ms. Mayberry said that we will have stickers on the floor for social distancing. The county is producing some stickers, about 100 stickers to tell people where to stand, signs, all those good things. Of course, 100 won't be able to outfit the whole school, but we'll put them in areas that we definitely need them, and all that good stuff. So this is just giving you an opportunity to get into the building, help with some of your anxiety, try to get some things taken care of now. If it's nothing but to knock out some modules, because the following week, it's the week before we go back to school. Okay. Any questions as far as what this first week will look like? We will start temperature checks. So if you all will, when you come to the cafeteria, before that, I'm asking everybody to come through the front door. If you can come through the front door, that will allow us to check your temperature. Don't be running outside and trying to get your temperature up so that I can send you back home. I know some of us will be running down Yankee Hall Road and say, "Oh, Mr. Matkins, I got 101. I need to go back home." So come through the front door. We can do your temperature check, and then we'll direct you where to go from there. Okay. All right, last thing that I have on my agenda, and I promise this is the last thing, and I apologize because we've gone over. I said this wasn't going to be a long one, but it turned out to be a long one. So for those of you that have been in Pactellus, we all, you know that we do a fundraiser at the beginning of the school year. It's been a Krispy Kreme fundraiser. We're very lucky, and we have a good turnout for that. But I always have to do something discreetly at the end of the year to help pay for a lot of things. Since we don't have a PTA, I have to do a lot of fundraising discreetly so that I can kind of afford to take care of y'all and bless y'all and thank y'all so much for coming to Pactellus. If you remember though, that this past spring we were out, so I was not able to do those. So I know we're all in a sticky situation financially, especially businesses around us and stuff like that. But a lot of y'all know some businesses. You have family contacts, friends, you have somebody that you're close to. If you know any businesses that are willing to donate either goods or money to Pactellus, if you would don't mind, please ask them, see if they would be interested. Miss Mayberry's been working on a few. She's got Parker's Chapel down the road that is going to be looking at giving us some money. Fleet Feet as well, some donations and stuff like that. So y'all all have different businesses and people that you know. So if you know anybody that is willing to support a wonderful K-8 school, the best one in the county, please just talk with them if you don't mind, and just see, hey, even if it's $10 or if it's, you know, a book bag or something like that, we'll be more than welcome to take any type of donations. COVID-19 has affected us all, and one way for sure is definitely financially here in schools. We have plenty of money in other places, just not the general fund. So don't worry about jobs and stuff like that right now. It's I'm talking about general funds and things like that. So, okay. Alrighty, so that brings us to the end. If you have any questions, you may type them or unmute. If you don't have any questions, I've kept you long enough. I will be sending, like I said, a follow-up email to everyone, kind of having all the links that I have addressed in this PowerPoint in the email. But everything can always be found on our school website, is our staff website. So by all means, visit it as much as you want, because it changes every day. Okay. All righty. Well, thank y'all very much. Like I said, if you don't have anything else, you may go ahead and log off. If you do, you can stick around and I'll try to answer them the best of my ability.